Hey gang, this is Matt Sumstine and welcome to 2017. This is the first of our training tapes and I'm going to do a game format. Now this is a junior prep sports game. We worked a 5-man mechanic, but we're also going to discuss some 4-man mechanics. I pulled 24 plays out of this game, which is pretty typical, so let's get started with play number 1. It's appropriate that it's the opening kickoff. We're going to talk a little bit about sunglasses, which are okay for the afternoon games, and also the sleeves, which guys use for sun protection. It's okay to use those, but we prefer that they be the same color on all officials, and that color would be black, and that you use a tight compression type sleeve that goes to your wrist. Let's move into communication, and this is the opening kickoff, so it's important to set the tone early. You can see here he's trying to tell the player, hey, wait for the referee to give the signal, wait till I'm in position, but he's not looking the player in the eye. Make sure you get their attention before you start giving instructions. Once those instructions are clearly provided to the kicker, make sure he understands your formation requirements and that the tee goes exactly on the free kick line and not in front of or behind it. Once we allow the kicker to have the ball, then we move to our position and we have to re-verify what's going on. You can see him running back here, gets into a spin, raises his hand. That signals to the referee, I'm ready. Our formations are good. The kicker's been instructed. But guess what? He's now bringing his hand down. We're ready for the kick. But the formation is illegal. We've got kicking team players that are deeper than 5 yards, and I've highlighted them here. So we've got 7 guys that need to be in front of the 35-yard line in our current kick spot. So we need to get that corrected before we raise our hand and signal the referee. In this case, he has to come back out to the field instead of doing a 90-degree angle and coming out on the 35-yard line and signaling they need to be in front of that. He's kind of halfway between, which gives a confusing signal to the kicking team players. So we need to get that all straightened out before we ever signal the referee. Now, as we move into our actual kick mechanics, you can see that this is a straightaway long drive kick and it reaches the end zone. This is a 5-man mechanic, so we have 3 people down there, but the problem with this is only one is responsible for the ball crossing the goal line, and because this is a center kick, it's really just the referee. These other 2 officials have taken themselves out of the play by looking away from all of the other players, leaving them unprotected from a contact standpoint, with the exception of the other 2 officials who are now responsible for all 22 players. Now let's convert this to a 4-man mechanic, which is even a little bit more difficult, and we have a referee who's primarily responsible for the entire goal line unless the ball is kicked into what we used to call the coffin corner, and that's just too far with the pylon and the sideline involved for the referee to take that. And in that case, the referee and the head linesman in our 4-man configuration would switch responsibilities, one for the goal line and one for watching the field of play. Our primary responsibility out here not only is fair play, but player safety. So let's not get caught bird watching. Play number 2 is a double pass. We're going to talk a little bit about mechanics. I'm going to let it run through one time at full speed so you can see the entire play. Then we'll come back and look a little bit at some of the key transitions and mechanics of the play. The first thing we're going to look at is the formation, and you can see we've got trips or 3 receivers up top with a press coverage near the sideline. In this case, wing officials step back 1 or 2 yards from the sideline. Give yourself a little extra room so you can watch that interaction at the snap. Also, immediately at the snap, you can see he does an out route and he heads for the sideline. This is an indication of a pass, and we have a deep backward pass in the backfield, so another indication of a pass. So in this case, you need to not go into the backfield. You need to start sliding downfield a few yards, as long as no one is pressuring you there, which in this case, there is not. You can see that the umpire's got the middle coverage, the referee has got that end tackle position, which was his key at the start of the play, and the opposite wing is going to judge forward or backward pass. Now we've got transitions where the referee has to take the first threat on the new passer. The umpire is looking at possibly holding or blocking the back here, and the wing official who should have gone down is punching back and getting into the backfield out of position. Now the referee is transitioning from one threat to the new threat. The umpire is still looking at his first threat, now more of a block in the back threat. versus a holding threat, and there's a whole lot of distance gaining between the wing official up top and the receiver who's streaking down the field. Now looking at the back judge mechanics, you can see he's still in a back pedal, which is too long. He should have probably hipped, turned, and pivot and did a little bit of side running long before that receiver ever caught up with him. And we'll take a look at the end zone view now and see the first threat as it arrives from the referee's perspective. That's his initial key also on the play. The umpire will have this double team and then also the other block that's being pushed into the double team. Now we have the backward pass, so now we have a new potential passer and a new first threat. So the referee moves over here until that block clears, and then you can see a new threat from the right. The referee has to transition to that point. Now we've got the long pass downfield. You can see how close that receiver was to the sideline. That's something that the wing official needs to be aware of as well. And the pass falls harmlessly incomplete. Play number 3 is a balanced formation with motion, and then they run a counter blocking scheme with a pulling guard, which is really a quite complicated play that's executed almost perfectly, or even perfectly. Ended up being a long run out of bounds. So I want to talk about some of the key transitions when we pick up our blocks and the mechanics on the sideline. So we start with the balanced formation. The referee's got the tackle up top. The umpire shifts over to the opposite side of the line and reads as the play develops. Once the play gets going, we see we got a guy in motion. So we've also got the pulling guard. So the guy in motion should indicate to the referee that he's got to watch that guy either for getting the ball or for throwing a block. The pulling guard, if the referee can pick that up, should tell him that that is a blocking motion man and he probably won't get the ball because we've got a running back behind the quarterback. So as this play rolls around, we can see it opens up perfectly for the pulling guard block, which should be picked up by the umpire. The running back motion, he doesn't block, but if he does, the referee should pick that up. And then we've got open running, really good mechanics on the sideline. The wing official comes in from a little bit outside, marks the play dead at the 50, shuts the clock down, keeps his eyes on the players. Very good. From the end zone view, we can see that the umpire's got the group to the opposite side of the tackle that the referee is going to key on. There's a defensive end on the outside of that tackle, but as we can see, the motion man coming in and the pulling guard are our referee and our umpire keys. The umpire should pick up that pulling guard at about this point here, and he should also be able to rule on that block that the pulling guard executes. Now, the motion man coming across, that has to be picked up by the referee. He's coming over at high speed, and he's suspect for either one, getting the ball, but not in this case because of the pulling guard, or a very hard, high-charged block, or a low block. This is just a great review play. Play number 4 is a quarterback keeper, kind of a modified draw. You can see we've got trips up top, or 3 receivers, 1 receiver down, no press coverage, simple run around, not much going on. But let's break it down a little bit. So we're going to start with the formation and our initial keys. Because we have trips up top, that official up top, particularly in a 4-man, which we're talking about, even though we're running 5, is a little overloaded with 3. Referee's got his tackle on that top side. Because there's no press coverage on the receiver at the bottom, the line judge can now help a little bit more with the tackle on this play as far as hands to the face or any type of holding that might occur on the end. And the umpire will have that center mass focusing away from the referee's assigned tackle. So let's let the play go, and we're going to stop it again when we get to this point because we've got an overrun defensive end, so the referee is going to have to see if that running back grabs and pulls him. The umpire's got his really only threat out there that has a blocker on him, so he's got to watch that for holding. The line judge is going to move off of the press coverage that he initially watched and look for the first key block as that run develops, and then the offside official will help with the backside blocking. So you can see there's a quick key change by the referee because he has no holding issues, so he goes to the next first threat defender who's near the ball carrier. The wing official stayed the same, and the umpire is becoming less worried about his guys because there's some separation, a little bit of concern about a backside player. Then as the play moves forward, we've got another stop where the referee transitions to a player who has his hand on the runner, possibility of a horse collar, and then the wing official moves to the forward defender who might be involved in a block in the back or a hold, particularly in a four-man mechanic. If you have a back judge, then the back judge can help you with some of that view. Now moving forward to finish the play, you can see we've got a little concern about a guy that ducks his helmet, but he keeps it to the side. And there's a little bit of late action that the umpire or the wing official can help with. You can see the yellow line for progress, but the primary is make sure the dead ball action is all solved and complete. So follow through with that. Make sure that doesn't cause any problems or in itself is a foul. The next thing we're going to look at is an end zone view and how that progression takes place. You can see the two blocks we talked about earlier, the referee and the umpire for holding or blocks in the back. And the last thing, as we move forward in the play, the hand on the jersey, the wing official has that key block that's right behind. And then as that moves forward, the play ends up, and we know how that finishes with that little activity beyond the ball. Play number 5 is another one of those motion man pulling guard plays, and we've seen that before in this training video. This one's a little different because the motion man and the pulling guard are going the same direction, whereas previously they were opposed. So you can see this run full through at full speed. Now we'll slow it down and break it down. We've got a balanced formation. We've got two receivers on both sides. The low one you can only see his head. And then we've got a guy going motion. This has the potential to change the balance. But because the ball snapped before that motion man gets to the tackle, we still have a balanced formation, so the referee is on that top side tackle, and the umpire should be shifted down a little bit. And you can see that his body position is that he's focusing in the same area as the referee, so we're duplicating initial coverage, which also means we're lacking coverage somewhere else. So as we go back into live play, we can see the pulling guard, the left guard pull out in that same direction as the running back. At this point, the umpire should already have shifted to that motion man and have secondary looks at that linebacker and that deep blocker. The offside official at the top of the screen, he's going to have backside cleanup. Now as we get further down this, you can see that the umpire now can shift to that key block, which is a point of attack block, and the referee is looking forward through the runner who's not threatened at that first threat block. And he has to look at that guy because there's another block further out that the wing official has to be able to pick up and rule on as this play develops. As we approach the 25-yard line, you can see the strip right here, so I didn't forget about the fumble, and as the ball comes out, there's a little bit of a scramble. Now here's where we want our wing officials to lay back a little bit. If you've got an acknowledged fumble, lay back, get your beanbag on the 25 where the fumble came out instead of on the 21 where it's landing. And don't get so close to this action. There's a lot of things you have to rule on, including the recovery near the sideline. Did the player touch the out of bounds? At what point did he firmly control the ball? And then you can go in and separate the colors, or the players is what I'm talking about there, and make sure we've got a good spot to work with. All right, let's move into a quick look at the end zone. You can see the pulling guard and the motion man. We'll look at this a couple of times. And everybody seals off properly. The center, the right guard, they seal off properly. It's a clean release by the pulling guard. At this point, this is where the umpire needs to get this. And you can see that that backside action, it's all no longer point of attack. That's what the line judge is going to get. The umpire needs to switch over, get on these key blocks in front of the runner so that he can participate in officiating the blocks that count toward the progress on this play. This is where we want our referee looking, the first threat in front of the runner, and we've also got a wing official who has to manage the side block as well. It always amazes me how many things are going on what at first glance seems like a very simple play. Play number 6 is just a simple botched enforcement. We have a standard formation, balanced formation, and we've got second down and 10 at the A23, meaning the offense is 23. The ball is snapped over the quarterback's head. He scrambles back, recovers the ball at approximately the 8-yard line. So that's really a pretty big loss on second down. What we also have on this play is an illegal formation call against the offense. So what ends up happening is they enforce the illegal formation 5-yard penalty, and instead of accepting the results of the play as it occurred during the down. So in essence, they gave him a 2nd and 15 when the offense should have had 3rd and 25. And it's very easy sometimes to make this mistake, and it seems so simple. But anytime anyone on the crew, and this is a crew situation, has a question about what happened and what you're doing, you need to step in and save the crew with just a simple question: hey, shouldn't they have declined that foul? Play number 7 is a trick formation. This is on 2nd down, so it's not one of those crazy extra point muddle huddles. But they just came out and wanted to do something crazy, super tricky, and they brought their entire line, all 6 of their interior linemen, out to the side, and not a single one of them broke the waistline of the snapper, which is what is required for them to be on the line of scrimmage. So great job by this official to flag this as an illegal formation, because really we've only got one guy on the line of scrimmage. We've got 10 people in the backfield. And anytime we have this kind of formation, we want to hold them to the highest technical standard for initial formation. Also, it's interesting as to whether this is a forward or backward pass. We got a release point at the 38. We got a catch point at the pretty darn tight, right? Visually, it looks obviously forward, but when you slow this down point to point, it very well may have been a backward pass. Interesting stuff. Play number 8, we've got a couple of things we're looking at. First of all, it's a tight formation, and the defense is doing some line jumping, meaning they're jumping right into the line with cadence, maybe without cadence, doesn't really matter. If the offense jumps, put that on the defense. If it is with cadence, then you can put it on the defense without a jump for a disconcerting or an unsportsmanlike act for trying to cause the offense to go on the defense's cadence. Now that the play is underway, we can talk about a personal foul that was called for late hit. And what we've got here is a tightrope situation. And when you have a tightrope situation, the defense may or may not know that the runner is out of bounds.
We have a dead ball foul on the defense, number 44, first down.
Let's talk about announcements for a minute. They're always done in the same order. Status, if dead, or change of possession is the first thing. Then the type of foul, then an explanation, for instance, face mask or late hit out of bounds, the offending team, the number of the player, and then the penalty yardage. So let's go ahead and announce this one. After the play, personal foul, late hit out of bounds on the defense, number 44. That's a 15-yard penalty from the end of the run and results in a first down. Now, let's look at this play from the end zone view, and what I really would have preferred, because we have a tightrope situation and we didn't have a Master Blaster type hit at the end of this, or a Rock'em Sock'em Robots if you're from my era, that this would have been a better play just to talk to those players with a friendly reminder just to listen up when you get close to the sidelines. When I started this game review, I said I had 24 plays, but I got to 20 minutes after 8 plays. So I'm going to stop it right here, and I will continue to produce videos as I get into the other quarters, and I can keep them at a reasonable time for you guys to listen to and present to your groups. I hope this has been helpful and educational, and please always remember that it's never the intent of these videos to call out officials, to ridicule, or to make fun of them. These videos are solely intended to help the involved officials and all other participating officials, either here or anywhere across the country or the world, in improving their avocation and making football a more fun, entertaining, and safer place for the student athletes, the fans, and us.